TV tech, man, it is moving at a breakneck speed. It used to take a year or more for flagship features to trickle down into something affordable, but those days are gone. Think about it, we just reviewed TCL's Halo TV, the X11L, barely a month ago. That thing was so over-engineered, it felt ready for HDR formats that don't even exist yet. It's basically a, forever TV. And now we already have the QM8L. It's also an SQD mini LED, and it shares a ton of the same DNA with the X11L, a TV that, keep in mind, tops out at nearly 10 grand. Look, there are some real differences, mostly in peak brightness and how the backlight is controlled, but these two TVs have way more in common than you would expect. The QM8L comes in everything from 65 up to 98 inches. This one right here is the 85. And from the front, it's almost impossible to tell it apart from the X11L. It uses that same zero-edge design, though it is a little thicker and a bit lighter. My first thought when I turned this thing on, it's bright. Like most modern TCL, it pops. Now, it doesn't match the X11L's 10,000 nits or those 20,000 dimming zones, but honestly, for everyday viewing, I'm not really convinced most people would even notice. I'm not saying that there isn't a difference, but the QM8L doesn't have the same pinpoint dimming performance as the flagship, and I'm gonna get into that. But if you just fire up Netflix and hit play, it looks every bit as good as the X11L. Out of the box, the TV defaults to its standard profile, and honestly, thank God the dedicated eco mode is finally gone. Now, if you want to be eco-friendly, you can toggle on those settings within any profile. You'll see a little green leaf pop up when they're on. In standard, the QM8L is incredibly bright, but it's not exactly, accurate. You're going to see a blue shift in the highlights and some oversaturation in the primaries. That's red, green, and blue. This is pretty much standard practice for almost every LED TV on the market, so it's not a knock against TCL. Since most people prefer a punchy, slightly cool image, the standard profile does exactly what it's supposed to do. Of the TV's SDR and HDR10 profiles, I was surprised to find that movie mode, not filmmaker mode, offer the highest level of accuracy out of the box. I will be the first to admit I am not a measurement-obsessed reviewer when it comes to audio, but video is different. There are established industry standards for a reason, and these are measurable benchmarks, and adhering to them is the only way to ensure that the image you're seeing is actually what the creator intended. The QM8L's movie profile hits those standards right out of the box. Both grayscale and color come in with a margin of error under 3, 2.6 and 1.8 to be exact. In the calibration world, we look for a delta E of 3 or less. Anything below that means the differences between what you're seeing and, quote, perfection is basically invisible to the human eye. So if you aren't planning to hire a professional calibrator or buy your own gear, just switching to movie mode gives you a highly accurate image without having to touch another setting. Before I get into calibration though, we need to talk about brightness. In movie mode, the TV measured 351 nits. That's perfectly fine for SDR, especially in a darkened room, but it is a far cry from TCL's 6,000 nit claims. Now, before anyone grabs a pitchfork, the brightness was capped at 45. That little green leaf icon indicated an energy-saving mode that's actually on by default across several of TCL's profiles, and it's what's holding that brightness back. When I disabled the eco setting and I cranked the brightness to its highest setting, the number jumped to 700 nits, and it didn't affect grayscale or color accuracy at all. That's impressive. It means you can add more punch to the image without breaking its calibration. Now, if you really want to push it, you can turn on the real-time contrast and brightness enhancements. Maxing those out drove the brightness past 4,000 nits in movie mode. That is a staggering number, and honestly, it's pretty unheard of for a profile that's supposed to be built for accuracy. Now, there is a trade-off though. These additional adjustments do affect accuracy. So the margin of error we talked about earlier are pushed just outside their ideal range. I don't really fault the QM8L for that though, for two reasons. First, you aren't going to notice that slight drop in accuracy when the screen is this bright. And second, I couldn't comfortably watch anything at 4,000 nits for more than, I don't know, a few seconds anyway. It's just not a scenario most people are ever going to have to deal with. When I toned things down, keeping the brightness at 100 and setting those enhancement controls to low, the TV settled into a sustained, real-world brightness of around 1,500 nits. In our brightly lit room, that was the sweet spot, and the best part of it, dialing it back just a little bit brought the TV right back within those accuracy standards. In practice, I barely had to touch the QM8L to get it near pixel perfect. Using my calibration tools, I got the margins of error down to around 1.5 for both grayscale and color. Now, while this isn't the very best TV I've ever tested, it is remarkably close to the X11L after calibration. In fact, in some cases, the QM8L actually measured slightly better out of the box. HDR10 followed the same path as my SDR tests. In movie mode, it tracked almost identically, which is exactly what you want to see. Dolby Vision, however, required a bit more scrutiny. None of the profiles pass as fully calibrated out of the box. Dolby Vision Dark gets close with a margin of error of around 4. Now, ideally, you want that at 3 or below, but in practice, 4 is still a solid result. It's definitely not enough for me to suggest that you go out and hire a professional calibrator. TCL claims that their deep color system, specifically those super quantum dots, can hit 100% of the BT 2020 color space. Now, I measured closer to 90% of BT 2020 and 98% of P3. Those are excellent results, but it's one area where TCL may be slightly overstating things. On the other hand, their claims about blooming are largely spot on. They say there's virtually no image blooming, and for the most part, that is true. It's very well controlled and very subtle when it happens, even when you have high contrast scenes or white subtitles against a black background. Does it match the X11L? No, and this is one of the few places where you'll actually notice a difference. The X11L gets incredibly close to OLED level control, whereas the QM8L is just one of the best mini LED performers on the market. Black levels and contrast are still very good on the QM8L, arguably a close second or third behind the X11L or OLED, but this is one area where that gap, between 20,000 and 4,000 dimming zones and the processing behind it all really shows up. But look, you're saving a lot of money here, and when you put it that way, the trade-offs feel more than fair. Panel uniformity is solid. You do get a slight consistent vignette around the edges as you get close to that bezel, but that's something I've seen on other TCL models with this design. It's basically the trade-off for pushing the image edge to edge without a thicker frame to hide the backlight. Off-axis viewing is also good. It's actually an improvement over previous QM models, but it's still not quite on par with the X11L or an OLED. That said, it's plenty good enough to keep the color and contrast looking right, even if, say, you're sitting on the far end of our 10-foot sofa. But specs and measurements aside, are you actually going to enjoy the QM8L? Yeah. If you're in the market for a well-built, easy-to-use TV that's bright and accurate straight from the factory, you won't see this as a compromise. It's easily one of the better TVs available today. Every time I pressed play, regardless of what I was watching, from YouTube to the newest Avatar movie in Dolby Vision, the QM8L just looked good. Colors were vibrant without being oversaturated, and skin tone, something Christy is especially sensitive to, consistently look natural and lifelike. And while we're not quite in the TCL Sony era just yet, TCL is definitely knocking on the door. When it comes to processing, I'm talking cleaning up compression noise and upscaling HD content to 4K. They are right there with what I've traditionally seen from Sony. So maybe Sony noticed that too and thought, hey, if you can't beat them, join them. Christy's been on an old movie kick lately, and I gotta tell you, even some of the 720p transfers she's been watching looked freaking great. Look, I took some heat for what I said about the X11L's motion performance while gaming, but I stand by it. Most casual gamers probably won't be let down by what the QM8L delivers. I ran everything from first-person shooters to golf simulators on my PS5, and it looked and responded great. Are there better options for gaming out there? Sure, especially if you're coming from, say, a dedicated gaming monitor or basing your purchasing decision solely on test patterns and motion tests. Motion tests like the one you're seeing here, they push TVs to speeds far beyond what movies, TV shows, or even most games actually use. So while a TV may look like hot garbage at close to 2,000 pixels per second, the reality is you're almost never watching content that moves this fast. In the real world, most motion falls within that, say, 200 to 300 range, whereas you can see here, it looks just fine. If you're chasing that last few percent of motion performance on a TV, something like an LG OLED is going to serve you better. But for everyone else, just plug in your console into one of the 4 HDMI 2.1 ports that are capable of 4K at 144 Hz, by the way, and just enjoy. I also found myself spending a lot more time with the latest Gemini update on this set. The way you can actually talk to the TV now and the way it handles your questions is not only slick, it's a glimpse at where TVs are headed. We're moving away from just having a display and towards having a true hub for the home. You remember that scene in Back to the Future 2 where Marty is talking to his boss through the living room TV? Yeah, we're basically there. The only real snag I hit over the last month was a handful of audio dropouts while using Dolby FlexConnect. In that time, I had about, let's say 10 or 12 dropouts total. Each one lasted maybe a second or two. Now, is that frustrating? Yes. But is it a deal breaker? For me, it's not. The flexibility you get by adding 4 Z100 wireless speakers and a sub is incredible. It's still more affordable than most high-end soundbars, let alone something like Sony's Theater Quad. So I'm willing to live with the occasional hiccup for that kind of performance. Compared to TCL's own X11L, the QM8L doesn't quite pull off the Upset, but that's okay. Gets way closer than I expected. In fact, it gets so close that for most people, the X11L is going to be a much tougher sell. Because let's be honest, who isn't going to take 90% of that flagship performance at a fraction of the cost? If it were my money, having lived with both now, I'd probably choose the QM8L and pocket the difference. Now, compared to the QM8K, I believe the 8L is the better TV for one key reason. It does not have the power supply noise that I encountered with the QM8K and the QM9K. And as a result, I believe it has better control over its backlighting and can hold up and sustain its brightness levels for longer periods of time. When you put this up against heavy hitters though, like the Sony Bravia 9 or the newest OLEDs from LG and Panasonic, the QM8L is right there with them. In most mixed viewing, especially when you're just streaming content, you aren't going to see a massive difference. In fact, you could argue that the QM8L is just as good where it actually counts for most people, all while coming in at a much lower price point. As for the best OLEDs we've tested, yes, they are still undefeated, but there are things that Mini LED can do that OLED simply can't. I'm talking about sustained brightness at scale without the massive price tag. For most people, that's gonna matter a lot more than the marginal gains in response time or teeny tiny improvements in color accuracy. So in real world terms, can the QM8L go toe to toe with an OLED? I think so. So if the X11L caught your eye, but the price made you hesitate, the QM8L is proof that good things really do come to those who wait. And in the world of Mini LED right now, that wait time is measured in weeks and months and not years.